Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today, as you can tell, I'm filming from an extraordinarily weird angle because I've got my little Bubba in my arms, and because I have the baby and it is actually a little bit harder to film videos whilst I have him, I decided that I would just film this intro for a bunch of Thermomix slash Supercook slash Bellini, whichever machine you have, Smith& Noble. There's a million thermal cookers out there. And basically I get requests a lot to do more tutorials of what kinds of things you can make with your machine. So what I'll do is for each video, I'll have this intro explaining what the machine is and how it works and what it does. But if you want to skip and go straight to the recipe that's in this video, I'll put on the screen right now what time to go to skip right to that recipe. All right. So if you're still here, I'll explain what a thermocooker is. So if you haven't heard of thermocookers, they're going to change your life. If you're anything like me, I'm very time poor. I often either have someone I'm looking after, or I don't have a lot of time after work, or I just don't have a lot of patience when it comes to food. I'd rather use lots of times that I have to cook to be with my little baby. And so I don't want to be standing there at the stove or watching things or checking things on the oven, that kind of thing. And so for me, the thermocooker has been a brilliant way for me to try a bunch of different foods that I never would have tried before and save myself tons of time, a lot of the time. And so these recipes that I'm going to show you through these series is going to be basically some of my favorite go-to recipes, things that I never thought I'd make necessarily, but because I have a thermocooker, it's easy. So what is a thermocooker? So a thermocooker, firstly, they go by a lot of different names. The popular ones, or the more popular ones here in Australia, are the Thermomix. Thermomix is like the, brand name fancy one, and those ones cost anywhere between like $2,000 to $3,000. And then they have lower end ones, or I wouldn't even say lower end. They have different machines. And so the next one up that I can think of that you can get is a Supercook, which is what I have. And those retail anywhere between $600 to I think about $1,000. And so I got mine for $600. And that was part of a one of those deals where if there's enough people who go for like a interest thing, then they'll ship them to the country. So I went into one of those and love it. Yeah. And then the next one that you can get is called the Smith & Noble or Bellini. They're basically the same machine, but they had two different companies, I think, that were making them at one point. And so I had a Bellini for years. So I had my secondhand $50 Bellini for about 3 years before I decided I absolutely loved it and wanted to get the Supercook because for the Supercook, it had built-in recipes. I could add recipes of my own. It had built-in scales. It had one blade. So going into what the machine itself actually does, lots. So that's the short answer. The long answer is basically anything that you can do on a stove, and basically anything that you could do with a lot of appliances like a rice cooker, or a blender, or like a slicing machine of some kind, you can pretty much do in a thermocooker. So for example, it can steam vegetables, it can cook you rice, it can make the mix for jam, it can make rice pudding, it can roast a small turkey, it could make risottos, make soup, it can make all kinds of things. And the whole point of it really is that it's an all-in-one, in essence, machine. So basically it can do quite a few things. It chops, it blends, it steams, it cooks, it sautés, and it's all in the one machine. And then at the end, it's pretty much a self-cleaning machine because you can just take whatever it is that you made in it and then pour in water and some dish soap, whiz it up on 2.5 minutes at 90 degrees Celsius at like speed 2, and then it pretty much just about cleans itself. And so to have a machine that does all the work for you, you don't have to constantly stir, don't have to check on it. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And so I love it. Like, I'm known to make rice pudding, which I'd never made before, and I quite frankly don't know how to make it without this machine. I've done a tutorial on that one before. That was the first thing I ever tried. And basically, I just set it on the time that it needs, the temperature it needs, and the speed that it needs. I pre-make the mix of stuff. So I pre-make the bag of rice and sugar and stuff that it needs. And then I just pour in a liter of milk, turn on the machine, and then I go for a shower. And so I come out of my shower and I clean this one, and I put him down to bed, and then I come down to this beautiful, perfect, every single time rice pudding. And so that's just a small explanation of what this machine does. So basically, if you can do it on the stove, you can basically do it in this machine, and it just is a time saver, and it's helpful for people like me in terms of disability. So if you have trouble chopping, or you have trouble mixing, or you have just, arthritis like I do, I find it so helpful that it can do all the things that just don't come easily to me. Like I cannot hold a ladle and stir. That is quite difficult for me. And I can't chop that easily. Holding a knife is, similar difficulties. So this machine just basically takes away a lot of the hassle I find in cooking. Other people love it just because if you're not very good at cooking, it can be very easy just to follow the step-by-step procedure in this machine, where you just say, okay, this temperature for this many minutes, important, in exactly this much ingredients, and just let it do its thing. A lot of people find that really helpful and really easy, which I can understand, because it honestly feels like a no-fail machine. I don't think I've had anything, not work in it. Yeah. Yeah, he just wants some cuddles. All right. And so in terms of the machine itself, I'm a big fan, and I often, like I said, get asked on this channel to put some more recipes up, because at the moment, at the time of filming this, and like I said, this will probably be the intro for a lot of videos for the next few months. Basically, I've just done like risottos and rice pudding and pasta dishes, all-in-one pasta dishes, which are so fantastic and easy to do. And so the machine won't necessarily always save you time, because some of the recipes obviously do, require you to constantly be putting things in and setting the machine at different temperatures and different speeds for different times. But it basically lets you cook things that you may never have cooked before. Like, I have never made a risotto in like real life. I've only made it in the thermal cooker, and it comes out perfect every time. So that is what a thermal cooker is. That is what a thermal cooker does. I'm, like I said, going to use this intro to show you a few things that I've been making here at home on my maternity leave. And that's the other thing I love, if you're busy, breastfeeding, or if you're busy running after a toddler, or if you're busy, soothing a crying baby, you can just have this machine run in the background doing its thing, and still have a yummy meal despite not having, necessarily the time to do it. So I'm a huge fan. Baby's a huge fan. I also make his baby food in there. So comment down below if you want to see what kind of things I make for his baby food, because I basically make things, then freeze them into little sections for a baby to eat. And that way it's cheaper for me, it's better for me. I know what's going into my little Bubba's food, and I get the satisfaction that I made it. So thank you so much in advance for watching. I hope this tutorial is helpful, and I hope that it's easy enough to see what to do. But basically, with any thermal cooker machine you're using, there are 3 functions. 1, the cooking temperature. So I'll always tell you in the recipe tutorials what the cooking temperature is. On some machines, and it varies from machine to machine, sometimes over 100 degrees, they call it something different. Some machines you'll see ST, that's steaming temperature. So if I say above 100 degrees and yours doesn't show anything above 100 and you just get like ST, pick that. But if I say ST on my machine, because I think I did a few tutorials when I had the machine that said ST after 100 degrees, then just pick like 110 degrees for instead of ST. And then the second part of the machine, next to the temperature dial, is the time dial. And so that tells you how long you're going to cook. So if I say cook for 2 minutes, you set your timer on the machine to 2 minutes. And then the third thing is the speed. And so again, depending on what machine you have, things might be different. So for me, for speed, there's only really one thing I need to do. If it says speed 2, I put speed 2. If it says speed 6, I put speed 6. Things you need to know that different machines have different safety measures. So on some machines, if your machine is above a speed 4, you can't be above a certain temperature for safety reasons. It just basically prevents you from, spattering yourself with boiling hot water, which is fair. So it depends from machine to machine what exactly it does or does not let you do for speed and temperature. Then, sorry, I'm like falling out of the screen, but I have Bubba trying to get into the screen. And so, baby, gotta stay this way. All right. Then in terms of the blades inside the machine, Thermomixes and my Supercook and some other machines only have the one blade. And so if you only have the one blade, that means that when it's going around the main way, it slices and you're using the sharp side of the blade. If you put it on reverse, or if the recipe asks for reverse, that means that you want the spinning to go backwards so that you can get the blunt side of the blade, meaning that it won't chop up things. So this would be important in things like, if you're mixing something, but you don't necessarily want to chop it up. Like, so if you have a mince, you don't necessarily want to be mincing your mince into like mush, and you just want to stir, then you'd want the reverse. You'd want the blunt blade. In other machines, you have a separate blade to do that. So you'd have, you'd switch between your sharp blade and your blunt blade, which I found annoying, which is also part of the reason why I got a Supercook. So if you see reverse, often that means switch to your blunt blade if you don't have the reverse function. All right, so I hope that was a fairly clear explanation of the machine. That was a very long explanation, but like I said, though, that's why I put the time where the recipe starts at the very beginning, because if you already know all of this and you already understand your machine, great, good on you, welcome to the club. And what you'll see next is the recipe, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. All right, so these are the ingredients for pancakes, easy pancakes when you just want a simple breakfast or dinner, I guess, on the go. So we've got butter, so you just need 50 grams of butter, 2 eggs, 250 grams, so 1 cup of milk, 220 grams of self-raising flour, and 70 grams of sugar. So it's a pretty easy recipe. I'll walk you through the steps now, and then at the end you can just clean your bowl, and I'll show you what settings to put that on so it's self-cleaning and it's an easy, no fuss kind of meal. All right, here we go. All right, so setting number 1 is your 50 grams of butter on 80 degrees for 2 minutes on speed 2. And that's my butter in there. So that's just gonna melt the butter for us, and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Alright, so I put the 2 eggs in and measured out the dry ingredients, so I'm just going to pour in the dry ingredients and milk. And then we are going to put it on speed 4 for 10 to 30 seconds, so basically just until it's pancake batter, so just keep an eye on it and definitely keep the measuring cup cover on, otherwise you'll have this spattering everywhere. So I'll be back with you in a split second to show you the pancakes. Perfect pancake batter, and so now I'm just going to put it on the stove flip them, and then we have our meal done for like 10 cents. Not bad. All right, this is the first pancake. We'll see how we go. I always make the first one a little bit small because the first one always comes out, I think because of the heat, slightly wonky. But what you want to do is you just basically want to wait till you see exactly this, just the bubbling like that, to know that the other side is getting pretty cooked. And that's when you can start poking at it. So you have a lot of these bubbles like that, so it looks like a nice cookie. And then you can just check the edge and see if it's starting to be like that underneath, the perfect pancake. It is. So we're going to attempt to flip this. Slightly wonky. I always do this to the first one. I have no idea why. But it's alright. I'll flatten that out. And then you'll do this about 10-ish more times and make about a dozen pancakes. And then add whatever you want as toppings. So we use fruit or sugar, but this is basically smelling delicious and is so satisfying on those days where you just want some yummy comfort food or an easy breakfast. Alright, so we have our final plate of pancakes, and I've just put some water and soap in this so that I can just clean out everything without having to do much effort. So I always just use 90 degrees, 2.5 minutes on speed 2, and so that will clean it for me while I start eating this. And then by the time I finish eating this, I can just quickly rinse out my Supercook or Thermomix or whatever machine it is you're using. And then the pan obviously is never too much of a big deal. I have a non-stick, so I'll just quickly wash that off and wash off my spatula, and that is it. So not bad for easy cleanup. And then this obviously will just go in the dishwasher and we're done. So that is today's recipe. Pancakes or batter for, you know, waffles or whatever it is that you want to make. If you have like a waffle maker or a pancake maker, and you can just plop it into those and make fun shapes. But yeah, the end. See you all next time. Bye.